right, great. Aftershocks, Tremors. Matt and Chris are back with you for another discussion episode as we talk all things music business on these type of episodes. And today, our discussion revolves around musical artists and the importance and necessity of being in multiple bands, as well as exposing fans to one's music through through other avenues and platforms other than traditional methods like radio and so forth. And we're fortunate enough to be joined today by someone who knows all about both of those topics. From Hardline, Axel Rudi Pell, and Crush 40, we've got vocalist Johnny Gioeli with us today. What's up, Johnny? How are you, man?
Hey, Matt, I'm doing great, bro. And I heard that New York accent just flying through there. It was awesome. Can't get rid of that. Can't get rid of that. Even though
I can see you got still some of that too. I can tell, man.
Yeah, I got a little. You're gonna bring it out of me too. I have.
There you go.
So,
Nice.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, guys. And I hope I can offer some cool insight to this crazy but beautiful industry.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And before we get started real quick, I just want to say new Axel Rudi Pell, man, it's a great record, and we'll definitely talk a little bit about that as we get going with the show towards the end there. But let the listeners know. Go ahead and pick that up, Axel Rudi Pell. But anyway, yeah, just to start things off, I mean, you know, as we all know, I mean, long gone are the days where an artist can survive as a touring musician the traditional way, right, by focusing all their energy and their artistic endeavors into a single entity or unit. But, and that's been kind of going that way, at least for the last 20 years, if not more. But it's even more crucial to do so, today than ever. And there are numerous reasons as to why that is. Obviously, internet, streaming services, a ton of reasons. Obviously the music business too, not as much money is going into it as it was over the last 20 years. The business model for a lot of these, guys have not changed. It's caused the industry to kind of self-implode a bit. There's no money being put into artist development. I mean, it's just so many reasons why. But right. Johnny, I mean, you're a guy who had been involved in multiple bands and projects really before it became the conventional way of doing things as it is today. I mean, so you're definitely the perfect guy to talk to, about this topic here. So Johnny, I mean, just to start us off, when you were first juggling multiple bands in the 90s, I mean, was it due more to, just your artistic aspirations and, just maybe simply taking advantage of opportunities that were presented to you? Or was it really, even back then, was it necessary to do that in order to sort of survive and thrive in the industry? I guess give us a little background about that. Yeah.
Great question. But for me, it was just project-based. I didn't do it out of necessity. I did it out of opportunity because I love, all kinds of music. And, it's kind of interesting. Back in the day, okay, when was the day? So back in the 80s, we'll say, it was frowned upon. Like if you were a band hopper, I mean, you were like, oh, that son of a bitch, guy's in 6 bands and now he's jumped in and he's playing for that. Now it's like, and I always thought that was ridiculous because as an artist, you want to evolve, and evolving means you expose yourself to as many other artists as you can that, fits your musical profile. So for me, I didn't really even think about it. I started with Hardline, where it was, prior to Hardline, it was Brunette, then was the Hardline band, which had its great success. And then Axel Rudi Pell contacts me, and then Jun Sonoy at the same time from Sega Corporation contacts me, and it all just kind of happened. Mm-hmm. And I didn't think about it. I just like, okay, I'm going to switch hats now and it was easy to do. It wasn't like I had to fake it. That I love the Axel, that old school metal stuff. I love the poppiness of the Crush 40 gaming music. And of course I love my birth child, Hardline. Mm-hmm. And so for me, it just all cross-pollinated. I was very lucky because it all cross-pollinated with the fans. Anyone who's a fan of Hardline is probably a fan of Axel Rudi Pell, is probably a fan of Crush 40. And that just worked for me. Mm-hmm. Call it a little luck, maybe. Sure. Call it a little luck. But for me, especially now that I'm the ripe young age of 54, Jesus Christ, I still can't believe it. I wake up, I go, there's no fucking way I'm 54. That can't be. No, I mean, everything's still working. It can't be. So, I now look for opportunities to continue to develop as an artist. And I just find the more people I work with, that's why I do a lot of side projects. I love getting, different perspectives musically from other artists. I mean, I think it's the best way to evolve. I'm not done here, man. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, so so that Axel Rudi Pell album that's coming out, that was album 99 for me worldwide.
Wow. Damn.
99. I will hit 100 albums this year. That's with all the projects that I've done. So Axel's 25, 30 albums, Hardline albums, Crush albums, side projects. So for me, it's important to expand by working with different artists. It's important to, I don't know why we frowned upon it in the past. I don't know why.
Mm-hmm. Johnny, what was the timeline that you met all these people? Was that in a short time, or was that over I don't know, a 5-year period, or from Hardline to having all three? What was the timeline for that?
So Hardline was early 90s, so that was like 92 to 95, and then everything else kicked in. So 92 to 95 was basically Hardline. 95 to 98 was basically therapy. A lot of fucking therapy. I spent a lot of time on the couch because, after that whole, transition and, when all the grunge stuff just pretty much devoured me, I needed some freaking mental help. So, and then everything else, blossomed from 1998 forward. So that's when Axel contacted me and June contacted me at the same exact time.
Wow.
So it was just bizarre. And here we are. What the hell year are we? 2022. It's just mind blowing to me how that happened. So so that's when that went down.
Now, I mean, now that you've been obviously, like I said, in all three bands for better part of 25 years now or so. So you obviously you've found a formula that works for you and as well as the three bands at the same time, which, I mean, that's really not an easy thing to do. I mean, many artists, they have a hard time if they're in multiple bands sort of prioritizing, right? I mean, it seems like there's usually like most artists will have, one main band, right? Which is usually the, kind of the moneymaker band. And then they have all those other, the bands that are more, for the artistic expression or just sort of a bit secondary. And many times, sometimes a lot of guys are scared of that because they can lose their gigs too, right? I mean, if you're prioritizing,
it's true.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what's the secret to your success in terms of how you've been able to sort of give each band, the attention and focus it needs to succeed without other band members, becoming, frustrated with, say, scheduling conflicts that could, like you said, maybe force them to look for vocal services, somewhere else?
Yeah, I think it's equal respect between the bands. That's how we do it. So I'll just lay it out for you. So Axel will say, "Hey, Johnny, what's your schedule look like for this month, that month, the other month, this month, the following month, whatever?" Mm-hmm. And I'll say, "Axel, I'm booked solid, man. I can't even breathe. Okay, how about this month, that month? Yep, I'll do that. Okay, let's plan to do something there. Okay, whoop, I cross those months off. That's it. They're reserved. They're Axel. I don't care if someone offers me $1 million to do a show. That's Axel time. And that's how I do it. So, we have like Alessandro Del Vecchio. Alessandro has his Edge of Forever band, his EOF band. And so we're always going back and forth. Hey, Ali say, "Johnny, I've got some show potential in this time period. Is that cool? Bro, take it. Do your shows, man. God bless you." And we cross it off. So it's just that respect that flows between all the bands. And we all want to tour, we all want to have pick the great shows, but once we make a commitment to a certain time, that's not changed. That's how we do it.
Do you think that has ever impaired your ability to rise up?
Because, hell yeah.
I mean, that's because I mean, that's that I mean, I certainly get the loyalty thing, and that's awesome. But the other side of that is clearly, well, we could be doing these festivals all summer. Well, wait a minute, I have a commitment to here, or Alessandro has a commitment to any one of the 300 bands he's writing for, or whatever. That's difficult.
Bro, I can't tell you how many times that has happened, where I go, "Oh my God, we just got asked to headline freaking such and such festival." And Ali's like, "Bro, I've got a show for 180 people." I'm like, "I'm going to kill you." And we laugh but we made a commitment, to each other,
sure,
all these bands, and it is what it is, and you can't change it. It's tough shit. That's basically the way it is. And yeah, I won't lie and say like I don't go, oh Frank, I wish we could do that show, but it's the way it is, man. You just have to, you have to manage it, across all the bands. And sometimes it can be a little challenging, but for the most part, all of these bands, everyone's understanding, and we all have things going on.
Sure.
So we just coordinate, we just, sync the calendars and let's figure it out. And it's so far, man, I'm knocking on wood here. It works. It's worked
Right.
for 22 plus
Sure.
years or however. I can't do the math. 98, 22. Anyway, whatever. Thank God I can sing.
Right.
Jesus.
Well, dude, I want to dig in a little bit to the one I know the least about, which is Crush 40. I mean, I'm obviously,
man.
what
the hell?
I'm not a gamer. I'll just tell you, I'm just not. Look, as the guy that owns the pinball place, I'm not the gamer.
What the hell? How the hell does that happen? Okay.
Yeah, I'll tell you exactly how, dude. This is the same way you're not the death metal guy. Sometimes it makes more sense to keep your distance from things than getting too involved. For me with the gaming, the minute I get great at gaming is the minute that place closes because there's nobody putting asses in the door. And that's the way believe me, I take a lot of shit from my guys. They're like, oh, you suck at pinball. Look, you're the worst one here. Like, yeah, okay. How many people just came through the door? That's what I'm good at.
That's what I do.
That's and I mean that's kind of the thing. But I'm curious for you, as a relative non-knowing person about the gaming. How much of a band is Crush 40 versus a project where you play shows, but ultimately the first goal to that band is the commitment to the product so that you can associate it with a game, with a scene in a game, with, the various things that they use your music for?
So I think that's what's interesting about what you just said. The focus with Crush 40 is not just the game. These fans, first of all, Crush 40, let me just kind of sum this. Crush 40 is bigger than any project I've ever done combined.
Sure. Wow.
It is massive. I can talk to someone in Pakistan, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, or wherever, and they know Crush 40 and they know the music. It is monumentally massive, more than I ever really understood. And those fans, so what we did, June and I, and it was honestly, it was my brainchild, but I didn't realize how important it was going to be. I'm not a gamer too. I've never played one of the damn games that I ever wrote music for, ever. I've never unwrapped the wrappers. I have no freaking clue. I know that some of the characters, Sonic the Hedgehog, Tails, Eggman, that's all I know those three. I don't know any of this shit.
Right.
My job was to take a scene. I thought of everything like a movie and plug in the soundtrack that's going to lift that scene. That's all I thought it was.
Right.
I didn't know that it was this absolutely monumental skyscraper of a franchise and community. These kids, they're grown-ups too, all ages. They're everywhere. And this music has been not just an album. Look, I'm going to make this Axel Rudi Pell album. It's going to do really well. We sell out all our shows. It's a beautiful thing. But the album will kind of just fade away and the people will wait for the next album.
Right.
Crush 40 is not like that, man. Crush 40 is a tattoo of music on every one of these fans. It's permanent.
Sure.
And it brings those fans to a place where they are and were the happiest. You know what I mean? So it's a different thing entirely. And I'm still blown away how I can release a song. I did a joke song with this group called the Chalk Eaters, and it's making fun of Sonic, because Sonic the Hedgehog is 30 years old, so he's like sitting on the couch, it's like, what a beer. And I mean, in the matter of a week, there's 7-8 million views, and I can't tell you how many listens. Just insane. So that audience, I've been really lucky that those fans have all cross-pollinated to all the music. I mean, how lucky am I, man?
Yeah.
It's insane.
Yeah, well,
But yeah,
it's amazing, dude. It's funny because my kid, one of my kids, is 28 years old, and his favorite game of all time is the Crash Bandicoot games. He has them all. He's beaten them all. You know, I've watched them. I've played them once or twice. I know it's got the little rings and you run, and that's about the extent of what I know. You know, I don't know shit about it, but I'll tell you this: when I first was interviewing you. God, how many years ago was that? 15 years ago or whatever, 20 years ago.
Yep.
You know, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm interviewing this guy. He's an Axel Rudi Pell. Yeah, okay, Dad, cool, you know, whatever. He's also in a band called Crush 40. What? He's in Crush 40? You know, he was like, holy shit. Wow. And he knew everything about it and was telling me and was showing me in the games. And it's like, I get that it is this huge thing.
Mega.
How do you, as having this huge thing, this is like being in the Rolling Stones but deciding to write a jazz album, you know, in a way. It really is. That's the best way I can put it. You have the Rolling Stones gig with the gaming, and you're still doing other stuff that is not going to produce like that. And I know it's not only about business, and I know you well enough to know that if it was only about business, you would quit, because that's just not how you are. But how do you justify that? Not only to yourself. I mean, you got a wife, you got kids, you know, how do you justify, well, I'm going to go do this for a hell of a lot less income versus just committing to, you know, going from Crash Bandicoot to saying, hey, I already do this music. Why aren't I doing your next, you know, whatever, GTA or whatever, you know, and servicing yourself to the gaming industry since you've kind of conquered that?
Great question, man. I think for me, and I'm not speaking on behalf of all musicians, for myself, whether it's one person or 10 million people, it's the same for me. It's no different for me. So what I'm trying to say in effect is, if I do a Hardline show and there's only a couple hundred people, those couple hundred people are just as valuable for me as freaking 10 million. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So again, the money is a tool. It's I could tell you guys and listeners, I had all the big rock star shit, the planes and the helicopters and the boats and the cars. I had all that shit. It means nothing. Mm-hmm. It means absolutely nothing. It could be a nice fun afternoon, but when it comes right down to it, that's not why I do this stuff. So I do this for hopefully the altering that happens when you hear a song that changes you, man, or makes you feel a certain way. So I don't know. You know, my family, I get full support. You know, when I do, look, I'm going to do a Hardline tour. I'm leaving in a couple weeks. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to lose my left ass, my right ass cheek, my left testicle, maybe a part of an ear, and a freaking kneecap. Mm-hmm. Complete loss. A loss. I mean, not just like a little bit of money, like a lot of bit of money. Mm-hmm. And that tells you right there that I don't give a shit. These people deserve to get what they paid for. You know, all the prices are up with the flights and everything, and the gas and all this shit. And it's made everything just come. But that's not why I do it. I made a commitment. I'm obligated to the fans. And anyway, so yeah, I hope I answered the question.
You did, but you lead to the other question, and this has nothing to do with music. This is just a straight family question. How do you justify that at home? I know me. When I was married, I couldn't buy an extra sandwich for lunch without having to justify it. Let alone saying, well, I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna be away from home for 6 weeks, and I'm gonna come back with a bigger hole in the bank. You know, I know I could not have justified that. That's got to be hard, no?
Well, no, it's not, because I've got an incredible family, and here's why: because they see how the music affects people. They read it on social. They see me doing the videos for people for their birthdays and this and that and the other.
Sure.
They see the joy it brings, and my family's an awesome family to understand that the old cliche starving artist, believe every bit of that shit. So there's going to be times when we're eating lobster, and there's going to be times when we're eating hot dogs, and that's the business. And they've recognized, God love them all, that I have this a gift, and I want to use it. I haven't let anybody starve yet here in the house, so there's always food in the cupboards. So that's, thank God. But that's really it. They just understand that I have a mission that is far beyond what things we could have. Because I'm going to tell you, like I said, we had the things. The families had all the things. And it didn't change anything. As a matter of fact, it complicated shit.
Sure.
It's, it's complicated. Big toys, you got big bills. It's all relative.
True.
I've always said to people that and I've never had big money like that, but I've made the big jump before from like one job where I jumped like $50,000 a year, like from 1 week to the next week, to where it's like a huge amount, it's a huge jump.
Hell yeah.
And I always tell people, I'm like, you know what? That was fantastic. That first week, that first paycheck, that was awesome. It's great. That first check, you get the check and you're like, oh, look at all this fucking money. This is the best. And then the next week it's back to work. It's just, okay, well, I'm working again. It doesn't matter after that first taste.
Exactly. And I remember, man, back in the Hardline days, that was serious business. My brother and I ran the business of the band.
Sure.
And we had big business managers and personal managers and top line managers and this and that and the other. But we signed every check. We wanted to know where our money was being spent.
Right.
What is this anvil case? Who bought this anvil case? Well, we needed that for certain. Okay, we sign off on the check. It was big business. I won't mention which guy, but a member of Guns N' Roses used to call us and say, "Hey, listen, we're missing what we think is maybe $1 million a day in merchandise. It's getting away from us.
Wow.
Where can we look?" And my brother and I were like, "Okay, look, you got to check this, and check that, blah 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 blah," and it's big freaking business. But I will tell you, back in those days, even though a bunch of young punks in our 20s, we had a $8.5 million record deal, I didn't give a shit. No one did.
Right.
We wanted to, like, we're going on tour with Van Halen. What the fuck?
Nice.
I don't even know what the hell money I got when I played that show. I don't remember. I have no idea. It wasn't about that at all. Yeah, it definitely, things change when you become a responsible adult and have to feed people and pay a mortgage. Yeah, definitely. But, you figure that out, and it's still not your motivator. It's never been my motivator. I don't know any famous artist that said, I'm getting into the maybe I just don't know. Maybe you guys do, but I don't know any artist that says, I'm getting into this because I want to be fucking rich, man.
Right.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know any of those guys. None.
Well, do you think that you didn't think too much about the money just because, the business itself was just so much more bigger? There was so much more money into it, where you maybe just thought your opportunities were I guess, more available, where now it's sort of like, I've got to make sure each opportunity I have, I got to really hone it and really caress it a little bit more, because I might not get an opportunity like that, compared to the availability of opportunities back in, say the early 90s, where, there was so much money and opportunities that you just don't see anymore today.
Yeah. I mean, it could be. I mean, for me, I just like busy, bro. I mean, I wish I had a really highly intelligent answer for you. I like being busy, and I don't really think beyond the busyness. I'm just like, I get up freaking early. I'm 4:35 in the morning guy, and I start working with Europe and developing things and working on tours, and I just think only like making sure I fill the calendar. And I always say, the money will come, and it just comes. But I will tell you, it's interesting. The older I get, you guys are young. It changes as far as like the level of money. I remember, coming up in the business is like if I had, this is the funny shit. Our first cash advance from Hardline, they had the automated deposit. The lady would say, "You have such and such." When you called the bank,
right? Yeah,
tell you how much money. Yeah. I listened to that son of a bitch over and over because I couldn't believe how much. It's like, what? It's like, you have, and I was just like, "Are you sure?" I'm like listening, like, wow. And I tell my wife, my now wife, like, "Listen to that," and it was just weird. But from that point, it's that, and that was little money. It wasn't like big money. And then the more I don't know, it's sort of like the more you need it, the more it kind of comes. At least that's how it works for me. It's like, back then we needed like a couple $100. Now we need like tens of thousands to make shit all work. And it just kind of happens. I don't know. I think when you don't make it your focus, you just make your focus your work, all that shit comes. And, my wife handles all that stuff. I don't even look. It's like, whatever. As long as when I go downstairs, if dinner isn't on the table, we got a problem. But so far, I think we're all right.
Nice.
Cool. Well, just to go back to Crush 40 real quick, Johnny. I mean, in terms of, like you said, it's been more successful than anything you've done combined. Now, in terms of the fan base, I mean, comparing it to say a Hardline or Axel Rudi Pell, I'm sure a lot of the income you're generating obviously is through YouTube plays and stuff as well, right?
Sure.
So I mean, and not to get really deep into the whole money thing, but I mean, just in terms of, are you getting most of that income? Is it generated towards? Is it just from that, or I mean, do you have a lot of fans that buy merch and do they view the band the same way that your traditional fan does with your other bands?
Yeah, they do. They do. So I mean, just so you understand the business, think about this, as our internet connections have gone from dial-up to 5G and beyond, that's opened up the rest of the world. I mean,
sure.
Where before we were trying to break the USA, and then we were trying to let's try to break Europe, and let's try to break Japan. I'm trying to break Sri Lanka now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, yeah.
So now it's the world. And and so we have all our digital service providers, all our DSPs, like Spotify and iHeart and Pandora and all these places. And these plays are generating the income for the musicians. And what's really cool, it's so funny because, I mean, we're here to talk about the business, right, you guys?
Yeah,
tell you a little
absolutely.
bit.
Sure.
Yep.
Yeah, so there's a lot of bands out there that get pissed, like, oh, Spotify, they only pay me 0.004 cents per play. Well, let me ask you a question. When Tower Records was selling your album in Hollywood and you got $1 a record and they were making $10 a record, were you pissed at Tower Records? You like, no, Tower Records is selling my record, man. Shit.
Yeah.
You never thought about that margin that they were making, and you were only making $1, if that. Shit, I was making 18% per record after recouping, and this. We make Gugats, man. I got nothing.
Right.
So, so you take all these DSPs, and as the internet broadens, and more countries expand their signals, they're listening to what? The one best medicine that we have, music.
Right.
So the more it's played, the more we generate money, and that's how we live. I mean, we don't really sell records that much anymore.
Right.
It's about plays. And I always thought too, I had this conversation years ago with Mike Tirana. The drummer Mike Tirana, great, phenomenal. He was the original drummer with Axel Rudi Pell before we got Bobby Rondinelli. And we would always have this conversation. We'd say, music should just be free. Just let it frickin' be free. Give the frickin' album, give them away. It's basically what's happening now. I mean,
sure.
$10, $15 on Spotify, download any shit you want.
Right.
We make our money in the pool of money that Spotify has to pay, and then it gets divvied out, that way. And so it just works. It just
right.
works.
Do you think, Johnny, that part of it too is Well, I think it's a two-part problem. The complaints, I guess. First part of it is 99% of the people that are complaining are the people that were signing $3.5 million deals, $8 million deals for records, and now they're happy if they get $20,000 from Frontiers or whoever for studio time to do a record. So they're thinking they're getting ripped off, and then they're putting it out, and then it's free and blah blah blah. So I think that's one part of it. The other piece. The other piece that I think is a bigger problem that nobody talks about, but I think about it all the time. This technology it seems like it's old because we've been doing it for 10 years or not, but it's new.
Yeah.
And if you think about, just go back to the transition from traditional CDs to Napster. And you think about that shook the world up. And it took a while. It took, 10, 15 years after Napster before iTunes figured out how to stream, and the rise of Pandora and, Spotify, whatever. I think we're in a stage right now. We're just in a between stage. I think it's slowly figuring itself out. What is the one that does like the high def? Is that Tidal?
Tidal.
So, I think we're starting to figure it out. You got Tidal out there that's now presenting music in a higher resolution where you can pay a little more and the artist makes a little more that way. And I think that eventually you're going to see YouTube getting less of everything, and you're going to see YouTube tiered programs and Spotify tiered program. I think that's where we're going to end up, where it's going to be like, you can have Spotify, but if you're on tier 1, you can listen to 20 albums a month. If you're on tier 3, you can get unlimited listens. I think they're going to figure that all out eventually, but we're in such a new time. It's still wild, wild west as far as music, and the industry has just lacked. It's so behind the technology that it's trying to catch up, and it's you guys that have been in it for 30 years are feeling the biggest brunt of it.
Yeah, and but Chris, also to your point, and I agree with you 100%. What's also missing, so as quickly as this is trying to grow, and let's just call it the digital world, the musician, the guys that were making the $8 million, had the $8 million record deals, have not stayed up with the technology to the fact they don't know how to collect their money. I've got a new company called Starving Artist, and I'm starting to literally help artists understand and collect. Let me give you an example. I mean, I won't mention names. There's some very famous guys that do not know how to register their songs to collect the money that's due them.
Wow. Damn.
So it's a whole new world for these guys. Let's go back to these guys from the 80s, right? So even pre-me, they have no clue what a DSP or performing rights organization is. They have no idea that there's neighboring rights. They think, I'm with ASCAP, I'm with BMI, they're collecting for me. No, they're not. They're only collecting in countries that they have rights to. But you've got a whole freaking world.
Right.
So, I mean, I had to learn this the hard way. And part of this COVID downtime was actually me realizing how many, maybe hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands I left on the table because I didn't collect properly.
Sure.
And that's what prompted me to start this company. And I'm rolling it out slowly because I want to help people collect, because people, that is now the new line, new revenue streamline is you're not going to sell a record, man. You're going to sell that listen.
Right.
And you need to collect on that listen.
You are going to have every musician in the world on this project.
Oh yeah.
Because, dude, I'll tell you a story, and I will use a name because he told it on our show, so I don't feel bad using it. We talked to a very established musician, David Ellefson. I mean, he's as established as they come, and we were talking about Spotify, and he was railing against Spotify. And then in 2 seconds later, he talked about how his kid had a subscription to Spotify. And we were like, we literally said to him, we were like, well, if Spotify's so bad, why are you giving him money? And he was like, well, my kid uses it. And I was like, okay, so if it's so bad, why do you put your music on it now? And his and it still bugs me because I just think his definition was awful. And David's a friend, so he'll hear me say this and he'll definitely text me and say something, but
you asshole.
He will. But his definition was, in order to be known, he compared it to a grocery store. And he said, if you don't have your product in the grocery store, nobody's buying the groceries. And I was like, that is the worst thought possible. It was like, no, if you want to protect it, you protect it. If you want to sell it to the hardcore Megadeth fans, you put it on the Megadeth website, and that's the only place that they get it. You can do streaming and all that other stuff yourself. Admittedly, that's harder, but and again, this is where I think the breakdown comes, and you obviously have in this company, which I didn't know about. You certainly see it. The breakdown is forever these artists, the heritage artists, I'll call them heritage artists, the 20, 30-year artists, have had people to do this for them.
Exactly.
Right.
And they all tell the same story about how they got ripped off by this accountant or that accountant or whatever.
Manager and this guy, yeah.
But it's the same story every time. They didn't know. They were 20 years old. You were 20 years old when you started doing this. You didn't know. You were thinking about partying, pussy, and playing music. And that, and all of a sudden it went from that to, hey, I should have an extra boat in the front yard or whatever. I mean,
the hell's my bass boat?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is I think there's a lot of reasons that it's gone the way it's gone. But I don't think it's, and this is me as a 53-year-old guy saying, I don't think that the change is going to come from the older artists. I think the older artists are just going to get screwed. I think where you're going to see this work itself out is going to be with the younger artists, the Nicki Minaj's or the Taylor Swift's or whatever, that are more in touch. And you already see it. True. You see that they're building brands, not music. They're not. Billie Eilish is not trying to make a musical career. Billie Eilish is trying to be a fashionista that also writes songs. She's she's a lifestyle person. She's an influencer. And that's the direction. I don't think it's truly, and you're an example of it too with Crush 40. It's not an example. Today's industry is not in a box anymore. It's not music. It's video, it's games, it's movies, it's television, it's, it's influencer, it's beer, it's perfume, it's whiskey, it's all of that stuff put together now. It's being an entertainer is now a universal thing, where being a musician was a very specialized thing. Does that make sense?
No, I agree with you. And, it's interesting because sometimes I get frustrated as an artist. Look, we all like the likes and the subscribers and this and that and the other. When I see an electrician who's teaching you how to wire a lamp in your house, and they've got like 1.8 million subscribers, and I've been doing this for all my life, and I got 30,000 or not even 8,000 but I don't define myself by likes, and the new generation does, but I don't define myself that way. And for us old guys, it's a tough world to new digital world to jump into. And I'm gonna mention a name because he's my bandmate, drummer Bobby Rondinelli. This guy's played on Scorpions records. He's
monster
he
talent.
Was monster talent. Do you know he's never registered a song ever?
Wow.
I go, Bobby, I'm going to help you with that. We're going to fix all that. He's like, well, I don't know how to do it. I'm like, you need to be paid for your work. When people are listening to your work, it's a form of advertising. It's, it's the way it works. And he goes, Johnny, listen, I'll give you whatever money you want to do it, because it's money that I don't know how to get. And I think that's where people get frustrated. Honestly, the musicians are getting frustrated because it's such like a new environment and there's so much to it. Because now, before you sold a record, right? You got your piece of the flesh when that album was sold, and then record company lent you money to make the album. You got to pay them back, and once you recoup, you start making a little bit of money on each album. But with this, it's money from play number one, and you just got to know how to collect it. And there's just not enough. There's not enough musicians out there that know how to do it. And the DSPs, the digital service providers, are growing. You could probably name, maybe you mentioned Tidal, you mentioned Spotify, we mentioned iHeart, Pandora. Let me tell you, brother, there are hundreds. Hundreds. I could show you a list. You'd be like, what the hell is that? Well, yeah, it's a DSP. They're in India, but that's a DSP. And if your music's on it, or if you're not registered to it through a neighboring rights deal, you ain't getting paid.
Right.
Because remember, Spotify, these memberships, this money is like pooled, right? So Spotify takes in $100 million, right? That money's chopped and dispersed because you may download my album, or you may download The Architects and you download their album, right? But maybe you don't download mine. I still get my piece of the flesh. It's like pooled money. It's like an umbrella money. But I still get I laugh, and I hope you use my analogy. The musicians never got pissed at Tower Records for taking freaking they took freaking $10 from you from your album, and you're pissed at Spotify for only giving you 4 cents. What'd you make off of that Tower Records sale?
Right.
Nothing.
Yeah.
And then they came back for half of that $1 they did give you for a recoup.
Exactly.
Well, Chris. Yeah, like Chris, you was saying before. I mean, a lot of it was because the artists were relying on the old heads from the labels and so forth. They collected for them, but now, right? Why are they going to go and try to recoup money for you? Because they're not going to get anything out of it. You said that the DSP in India, they're not going to make any money off of that. So why should I help you get your own money when I'm not making a penny off that? It's like, go do it yourself. And like you said, just so many musicians just don't. They just don't know where to go. They don't know how to go and collect it because, you said the industry people, the label people are not going to help you do it because they're not getting anything out of it.
Right. Yeah. So it's evolved, man. And if you didn't evolve with it, let me tell you, I mean, maybe you guys have read up a little bit about NFTs, non-fungible tokens. So now musicians are creating their albums in NFT formats with the Ethereum blockchain. Any musician listening right now that doesn't know probably just fell on the floor like, what the fuck is that non-fungible token on the Ethereum blockchain? You got to stay up on this shit, man. You got to know what's happening. And I was just really the pandemic, being stuck home here, I was able to take some time and focus on more of the business of more of like, what am I missing? And every artist, man, that has produced any music should be getting their due pay for that music, and I feel really badly if they're not. Look, there's a member of Journey. I'm not going to mention which one. Same thing. Never registered a song. Never registered a song.
And he's in Journey.
Member of Journey.
Jeez.
Yes.
Wow.
I'm not going to mention names. Never registered a song, and so. And here's the unfortunate part about the business of digital, whatever we want to call this digital world, is that money's only held for about 3 or 4 years. And if uncollected, it gets dispersed. It's gone.
Oh, wow.
It's gone, man. So we all left, all of us 80s, 90s guys, we left so much money on the table. Now it's supposed to go to charity. It's supposed to go to, musical, this, that, and the other, but who the hell really knows where it goes?
Sure,
I don't know.
does.
They don't tell you where it goes. Yeah, right? Exactly. So anyway, it's a new world of music business. You have to control the business yourself. Because like you said, like Matt, you said this, the record company's not going to do it for you. They're just not. They don't care about your digital health at all. You've got to really dig in. And there's some guys that are like, fuck it. I made what I made, and I don't want to learn it. I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
Okay. But they have a right to, Anyway, so hopefully my new company, Starving Artist, will, I don't even have the website up yet. Nothing yet. It's just right now, it's like I talk to a guy and they're like, shit, can you help my buddy? He's never done, but can you help it was so funny. Like with Bobby Rondinelli, he's like, Johnny, if you do this for me, I've got 10 guys waiting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, dude, if me and Matt told every artist that we talked to, we'd get you 100 clients in 100 weeks. I mean,
all right, man, we'll split it down the middle, 80-20, right down the middle, 80-20, just like you.
Yeah, right?
I'm kidding. That was my Italian Sicilian business. Down the middle, 80-20. Yeah, it's true. And you know, it just started from myself realizing, holy shit, I'm doing this wrong. Where I used to make, you know, a couple $100 a month, and now it's retirement level money each month. I mean, if you do it right, I always think about the bands that I you know ran with in Hollywood. You know, all these bands, you know, Tough and Bang Tango and all these guys, and I always wonder, shit, I hope they're collecting their due rights. You know, it's due them. I hope. Anyway.
Well,
we can go on and on about
and I could tell you for a fact, Stevie Rochelle is. The rest of them are not. I can tell you that. I can tell you that because I know Stevie real well, and Stevie
he's down
is
the middle, 80-20. He's
well.
right down
Stevie's
there.
a businessman first and foremost,
yes, he is.
and the rest of them are musicians. And you know what that means? It's like, oh, I can investigate this, or I can go score some pot. Well, I know what I'm doing. You know.
Thank God this world is filled with all kinds, man.
Yep.
But
Sure.
But you know, when it comes to the artistry, you know, and how that's combined with the business, I mean, some people don't give a shit. You know, some people are like, okay, look, I don't want to learn it, I don't want to know, and whatever. If I'm losing money, who cares? But for me, it's like, you know, I work hard, man. I want to, I deserve to earn my piece. I mean, there's no reason why Spotify should keep it all. You know, I mean, you know, shit like that. So, yeah, it's interesting. It's really, it's changed so much. I mean, we used to literally, no matter where we were in the world, we'd have all paper checks sent to us with the invoice statement to it, and we would look through each one in the back of the bus like, what the hell is this wardrobe case? Who bought a wardrobe case? And like, oh, that was mine. I'm so all right, son of a bitch. And you sign the check, and I mean, it's just changed, man, so much.
Sure.
The cool thing, I will tell you, here's the great thing, in my opinion, for this sort of you know, being self-indulged in the business part of it versus the record company. I didn't know, you guys, how much freaking money the record company was spending that was mine.
Oh yeah.
I'll never forget this. I walked into now Universal Music one day, and they said, we put together a brand new TV commercial. I'm like, really? What the fuck did that cost? They're like, well, it's $50,000. $50,000 back in '92, man. Well, that's a lot of damn money.
Right.
And I'm like, well, can I see the commercial? And where are we going to put it? Like, oh, no, don't worry, we're handling all that. So when your statement comes, that 50,000, you own that. You owe that shit. And it just 50 for this, you know, paying off MTV. We used to pay off MTV.
What?
We used to. Wow. Hell yes, brother. Let me tell you something, man. This is some raw footage for the podcast here.
Nice. All right.
There was envelopes, man. Like, you got to play that damn song, man. We need to sell records. Play one play on MTV meant 50,000 sales.
Right.
Play it again. 50,000. Play it again. Before SoundScan, do you guys know what SoundScan is?
Yeah.
Okay, so you buy your record, for all the listeners and watchers. There you go. Before SoundScan, there were big bands, and I'm not going to mention names, that would buy their own damn records. They'd buy 500,000 records, so they'd have gold status, and people like, shit, that album must be awesome, it's cool. And all the distributors would buy, and then it would just be the platform to take off. Then they came out with SoundScan, where no, we're going to register this from album number 1. When you went to Harmony Hut or wherever you bought an album, and the Camelot music.
Right.
So before, man, there were bands buying their own damn record to get the status so that it could potentially, that's the way we market it, you know, like,
wow,
it's crazy, man. It was insane business.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and as tight as we were, you guys, with the business, my brother and I I never forget. You guys like stories, right?
Yeah.
Of course. Go for it. Yeah.
We were in San Francisco airport, and one of our Dean Markley guitar string guys, endorsement guys, came running up to us. He goes, "How you guys doing?" That's great, man. How you doing? It's like, "Wow, it's great to see you guys." He goes, "Do you guys ever find that $20,000?" I said, "What $20,000?" He goes, "Oh, your tour manager had a bag of $20,000 and he put it under the seat at the airport and he forgot it there."
Oh my God.
Well, because back in the day, man,
Yeah.
we paid the crew what we call per diem. We pay per diem. There you go, the $100, two. That's how it was. And as tight as we were, my brother and I, that slipped through the cracks.
Sure.
It's crazy, man. It's insane. It's insane.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff, man. Well, Johnny, I just wanted to, talk about the quote unquote band these days, just to sit on something a little bit different here. I mean,
Sure.
because the good thing about you is obviously you're in, obviously with Crush 40, it's good, it's the two of you and June, right? You're the main guys. That's becoming something that's really more prevalent now than ever. The band, three or more guys in a band, artists in a band, that's slowly really going, or slowly, more rapidly becoming extinct.
Yes.
And a lot of people are blaming that on the reason why music really isn't as innovative as it once was. I mean, being that you're someone who's been involved in both the band and with just, you and June with Crush 40. I mean, what are some of the pros and cons in terms of do you think the musical output and quality of say having a full traditional band compared to the 1 or 2 man approach? Because obviously from a business, financial standpoint, it's a major positive if it's just 2 of you, because it's obviously more money in your pocket.
Definitely.
Do you think it has an overall negative effect on the musical output when it's just 1 or 2 guys instead of having other artists and guys in the studio that are getting involved and helping out?
Well, not when you're a genius like Johnny, Matt. Come on.
Thank you, Chris. Where do I send the check? Well, so it's a good point. Yeah, obviously less members, more money. Again, never been my focus, but I think the camaraderie, there's nothing like having 5 guys in a studio with headphones on and the drummer goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that is something that just that can't happen with 2 guys. So I think that's the big thing, that brotherhood when there's a full band of members, and that's something that's that obviously is different than like a Crush 40 scenario. Now, of course, when Crush 40, I mean, so it's different like that. You have a band member, or you hire a band member, or you hire a member to do, not a member, you hire a musician to do, a track. That's a big difference there, man. Big difference. Does it affect the music? For me, no, because, I've always been the principal songwriter, so I have the vision here. So whether it's my band members or hired guys, I want to fulfill the vision that's in my head. And if you can, I'm going to find someone else that can, fulfill that vision of the output. So I don't think the song really changes, but the camaraderie and that whole vibe. I always said the most powerful thing I've ever felt in my life, besides the sound of like an arena of people applauding and shit, is the power of a band walking off their tour bus into a restaurant. I'm telling you guys, there's nothing more powerful than when the doors open on your tour bus and a bunch of used to be long-haired guys, get off their bus and go into a restaurant, and you watch the heads and the people like, whoa. I mean, that's the power of band members,
right?
Versus just like a solo thing or a couple guys just producing music. But so does the music change? I don't think so, man. I mean, when you're the principal writer, you have the vision and you just try to fulfill the vision. But yeah, definitely the camaraderie's not the same. The more the merrier.
I would think that it does change for some artists, the bands that are a little more collaborative. I would think, I would think, because there are some bands, I mean, a bunch of people that are like this. We all do. There are some guys, some guys that individually they can't write anything worth a shit, but you put all four of them together, and
True.
it's like magic.
Yeah.
And
how many guys have we known that have peeled away to try to do solo careers? And you're like,
Yeah.
wait a minute, these guys play sports arenas, but now they're playing the Roxy
yeah,
as a solo artist. One little club. Yeah. So to your point, yeah, I agree with you there for sure.
yeah. I think you, and maybe this is just a Johnny thing, or not just you, but I think you specifically, you have spent pretty much all of your career being the leader guy, more or less. And I think because of that has enabled you to take that role in pretty much everything but Pell, I think, right? I mean, and even in Pell, you have a lot of in Pell, you have a lot of input too, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because he gives me that freedom, to adjust melody and be me, within the songs and stuff like that. But yeah, a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I think one thing too, Johnny, I mean, just that just in terms of the way you market yourself too in the modern day, in terms of since technology has really taken over the last 20 years, is I see like on your social media pages and so forth. I mean, you do a lot of giveaways. You get involved with charitable causes, like the mental health awareness stuff and suicide prevention. And I think what's great about getting involved with those noble causes is that you're not only doing a service, a good service for society. Obviously, you can see you're a very genuine individual when it comes to your music. Like you said, you're not driven by the money. But it allows you to open those different doors, for people to hear your music that normally wouldn't be, made available to them in those traditional ways. I mean, obviously, no one's finding music anymore on the radio. I mean, and most people aren't digging deep like we do to find new music.
Right.
And the average music fan just consumes pretty much what's fed to them. But you're essentially doing that by feeding your music to a wide variety of people that normally wouldn't hear your music on the radio by doing these different, using these different platforms and doing the giveaways and doing those noble causes. I mean, just, I guess, talk a little bit about your approach to using those, sort of non-traditional ways of promoting your music, because you're definitely taking advantage of that. And like I said, it's doing nothing but help you. I'm sure it's really helped you a lot just by focusing on those areas.
Matt, I got to be 1,000,000% honest with you, man, as I always am. I'm bad at that shit. So what's there, I'm not fully responsible for.
Well, your team then. Okay, your team.
My team. Yeah. So again, when I publish something socially, whether it's a video or whatever for a charity, for whatever I'm doing, I'm not really looking for the boost for myself.
Sure.
I'm looking to send the information so that people can digest it and use it how they wish. You know what I mean? So I'm not the guy. I'm terrible. I wish I was better at it, but I admittedly I'm terrible at socially marketing myself. And like I was saying earlier, I'm astounded by like an electrician or a plumber who has 2 million subscribers. I don't understand how they do it. I don't know how they get there. All I know is that I put the information out that I think is important to my fan base, and then they can do whatever they want, from there. I think I'm actually pretty bad at it. I mean, I got a lot of stuff out there. It's confusing to me. That part of the business I'm really bad at. It's confusing, the Instagram and this and the put up on your story and that. That I have not immersed myself in. I've got a great social person and assistant who helps me, I try to interact as much as I can to a point. I mean, I can't respond to everybody. It's impossible. And so the more that grows, the more that becomes a little bit frustrating for me, because I feel obligated to respond to everybody. I can't physically do it. I don't have the time.
Right.
So it's kind of a double-edged sword for me, that whole social thing. But I love putting up charities because of just my normal, I hope, good nature that I want to give back. So that's where that all comes from. And I'm big into the community, and that Crush 40, man, it's monumental community.
Sure.
It's monumental community. It's like a massive family. That's the way I view it. And so when I've got something to share, or I've got a problem, that need some attention, they're there. And if someone has a problem, they write me, Johnny, I've got a problem. My sister, this is happening and whatever, and I'm there for them as much as I possibly can. So that's how I use the social.
That's great.
I'm terrible at marketing it, boosting
you ain't that
it.
terrible at it.
No, you're not. No.
You're not that terrible at it.
You're not.
Either you're not terrible at it, or you've put the right people in place to make sure you don't look terrible at it, because you do fine with it, man.
Yeah, man.
Thanks, man. I don't know. I sometimes I just did an interview just a little while ago, and the journalist said, "Well, you can find me on such and such.com. This is / this. What is that?" I'm thinking, shit, do I have all that stuff? Do I need a dot alligator, whatever the hell you just said? So I don't know, but thank you for saying it. I think the social part of the business is everything.
It is.
It's our connection, and I just learned about Discord. I didn't know about Discord and all
servers
Discord servers, and now
Gilded.
I didn't know there's. I just joined. Kids were blown away. I just joined a Crush 40 Discord. I didn't know there was a server for Crush 40, and I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, "Hey guys, it's really me. It's Johnny. I just want to say hello and thank you guys for your support." That was a big mistake. So it was a beautiful mistake. It was always like, holy shit, no way, Johnny's on our server. And it went from they just started the server. Now there's I don't know how many freaking umpteen thousands of people on it. And now the phone just doesn't stop, which is a beautiful thing. And I vowed to everyone, I said, I will stop in to the server from time to time. I promise you that. I just can't answer every single thing. There's just it's 24 hours, and and I sleep 23 and a half. No, but it's fun, man. I love when when someone says to me, Johnny, that you were my childhood. I mean, it makes me feel old as shit, but to have that impact, man, that's how I use the social. I don't care about the advertising. Of course, when you have a new product, you got to put it out there so that people know it's there, so they can appreciate it and love it and buy it and whatever. But I use it all for the reaction to see what people are thinking and saying.
Imagine that you use social media for a social cause. Imagine that.
Yeah.
I never thought about it. Socially something.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Johnny, the biggest question that I have about your career so far, and I think it leads into our business discussion that we're having here, is in every medium, I don't care what it is. I don't care if you make tires. I don't care if you make bread. I don't care if you make music. Once you prove that you're good at it, somebody's coming to get it. Somebody's coming to be the next guy. Somebody's coming to be the next guy. You've held on to this thing as one of the biggest names in the gaming music world for 20 years. And somehow, some way, and here's where I'm lost with it. And maybe you don't know the answer. You probably don't, but I'm not lost on it with you, because I certainly know how you are, and you'll put a zillion and 50% into everything that you do. If your partner needs something, you'll stay up 3 straight days to give them what they need. And I'm sure that's as big as your talent at keeping you at the top of the heap. What I don't get is how Universal Music, whatever gaming companies are out there, haven't done their diligence to try to push their guy at a cheaper rate into that place. You know what I mean? To build their next thing that they control a little more than you. You've literally built a career and a band and everything out of Crush 40 and Crash Bandicoot and Sonic and, all of that. And nobody, it's maybe it's just me, but it's surprising to me that the gaming company themselves didn't try to wedge in the next cheaper brand of Johnny Gioeli to do that. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do. And that's, very, very well said. And I don't know the answer. I don't know why. I do know that when there's a new Crush 40 song or a Crush 40 event or an anniversary, this, that, and the other, it's highly successful, and they know that, and so they don't fuck with it. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. Like if it ain't broken.
Yeah. So do you feel like you're part of the product now? That you're literally part of the game. You're part of the product. You're not independent. You're not a piece of the game. You're a part of the game.
Totally. And that was my objective back then. That's when I went to Jun Sonoy, who is an employee of Sega, and I said, we need to be the band, the music within the game. People are going to come to that game because they love the band, or they're going to go to that game because they love the game, or both. So that was sort of my vision with it, and I got lucky. It worked.
Oh, so that was your vision. That wasn't his. Okay. So you
it
went
was
to him
mine.
for that, huh?
I went to him.
That's great.
I said, man, we need to be a band within the game, not just Johnny Gioeli singing with Jun Sonoy. No, I said, we need to be a band. We need to brand it so that it, just because I was just thinking movies. I was thinking movie soundtrack. I didn't quite understand that whole gaming industry yet. I just saw it as like a movie, and we need to support it with music. And I said, well, then we should be a band and be in that game. And it just worked, obviously, really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Thank God. Yeah.
Well, Johnny, before we wrap this thing up real quick, I would not be doing my job if we didn't talk about this great new Axel Rudi Pell record, Lost 23 or XXIII.
Yeah, I don't know Roman numerals. I know 23.
Talk a little bit about this one, man. It's almost hard to talk to you about Axel Rudi Pell because they're just great records, and you always sound great. Axel always sounds great. You know, there's not a lot to say other than it's another record and it fucking kicks ass. I mean, that's about all there is to say.
Thanks. I think 23 sounds like 22 and 21 and 20 and 19. But that's what we do. You know, I mean, this is my ultimate respect for hang on. Damn Amazon. Why does Amazon have to invade my phone? There we go. So Axel, I've tried in the last 20 plus years to get him to do something different, and he's a smart guy. He's like, why? This is what the people love. And so to me, every album sounds like the last album. It just does. But that's what the people
That's what you
want.
do.
Right. It's consistent.
And that's exactly, that's what we do. And then live we play. I mean, we barely play the new records songs when we're playing live. It's all the old stuff, Masquerade Ball, Oceans of Time, all this stuff like that, which are the classic Pell songs. But he's a smart guy. He stayed within his box, and it works. So the new album, I had just come back from a short tour with Hardline, and I didn't get COVID, thank God, but I got some weird kind of cough thing, but it wasn't COVID. I had a hard time singing that album, so I hope it sounds okay to you guys. But
yeah. Great.
Okay, good. Because that was, man, I had to put some seat clamps on my testicles just to get some of those notes. It was just tough. And then it's so funny. It's like by the time you're finished with the album, you feel perfect. You're like, shit, I want to go and redo those other songs because now I'm healthy, I'm fine. But yeah, I came back with some funky ass cold that someone in the UK gave me, and the whole band got sick, and I had to recover. And talk about the business of music. A record company now used to be like 3 months and they have enough time to prepare. But now, as we were talking about all these digital service providers and this and that and the other, we need 6 months before we can release an album to prepare. Yeah. 6 months.
Right.
So it's like, no, Johnny, you don't have another week to relax, man. Just make it freaking work behind the microphone. So, and we did. Yeah, it's a cool album. His covers are always so amazing. Axel's merchandise is always so great. I'm always so damn jealous. And and he does a great job. He always has special, limited edition stuff. And by the way, that's something. So if I'm allowed to plug, that is something that we're working on. I am putting together a collectors only compilation, brand new, remastered, unreleased songs, live songs of the original Hardline Double Eclipse. Wow, that is in the works. It's going to be holographic cover of the original cover. It's going to be badass with some original posters and some cool stuff for the collectors out there. Anyway, I got off track with Axel, but yeah,
that's great.
So that's going to be really great for the us older fans.
Absolutely. Well, Johnny, it's always great to catch up with you. Definitely appreciate you giving us this much time to talk about the business. I know it's not the normal topics, but it's fun. It's for us. It's just interesting, awesome. Man. It's interesting to pull the curtain back and actually see it. You know, I mean, we think we know it, but you know it. So it's very cool, man.
It's brutal. People don't realize how big the business is, you know, and the musician can take part in none of it or all of it. So it's pretty wild. So Matt, thank you. Chris, thank you always, Johnny. Man, for talking.
Sure.
I appreciate it. And yeah, we're in it to win it, baby.
There we go.
Keep going.
When it's time to rock, it's time to tune in to Crash Course Radio. Featuring the very best of the heavier music, from Slayer to Clutch to Fear Factory, it's all in one place, Crash Course Radio. To tune in to Crash Course Radio, simply visit www.cmsradio.net. You can also tune in on the CMS Network app by opening the app, clicking the musical notes at the top right corner, and selecting Crash Course Radio from our stations. All the best heavy music is there, so you should be too. Ditch the commercial radio and make Crash Course Radio your everyday station.